Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good Sunday morning to you. What a difference an hour makes. This camera was barely recognizable in the last hour. Thanks for being with us this Sunday, September 24th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get right to your forecast, because the big question right now, Wyatt, is we've seen some of that rain kind of dissipate. Is it moving on up?
Slowly but surely, Taylor, drifting north for us, and that's a good thing. And I think basically we continue to see slow and steady improvement. We're already seeing it in Baltimore itself here, with more of the heavier rains now in northern Baltimore County, Harford County, Cecil County getting some pretty good rain. And even the really heavy rain along the I-70 corridor out toward Frederick and Hagerstown is beginning to relent somewhat. So this is a good trend. Gusty winds have been the story early this morning, but those will continue to diminish as we go into the day. So no more high wind gusts as we saw over the last 24 hours. In fact, winds right now really anywhere from calm to maybe 16 miles per hour along the bayfront. This is another sign of improvement. So as you plan out your day, look for a slow climb out of the mid 60s to maybe the upper 60s as we push toward game time this afternoon. I think just some lingering showers. We talk more about how the setup will trend into the early week. Maybe not much sun, maybe some cool weather, but also a comeback for the sunshine. All those details straight ahead.
More voices are putting Maryland's juvenile crime crisis into perspective. Fox 45 News has been covering the issue here for months as parents, police, prosecutors are all calling for change to the current juvenile justice laws. This comes as violence among teens spike across the state. A lot of it's playing out near and sometimes even inside schools. With school back in session, Fox 45 News' Maxine Stryker spoke with a Baltimore City officer about why this is happening.
As the school year is back in full swing,
our schools are a reflection of our communities.
Violence among young people statewide is of top concern.
What's going on in the communities will ultimately impact our schools.
And that's become evident in just the first few weeks of the school year, as violence has touched schools across our region. It was just 2 weeks ago a gun was found on an 8th grader at Cherry Hill Elementary Middle School, temporarily placing the school on lockdown.
I don't even understand in an elementary school, how do these things even happen?
And in Howard County this week, police charged a 17-year-old student after they say he brought this handgun to Oakland Mills High School.
Right now, we're now seeing our young people throughout the state carry firearms on a regular basis. It's almost the equivalent of how people used to carry pocket knives. Now, people just arm themselves and decide that they want to, in some cases use it for, robberies. They're using it for carjackings. They're using it for shooting.
Baltimore City Schools Police Sergeant Clyde Boatwright says guns are simply too available to young people. Last year, at least a dozen were found in Baltimore City schools alone.
Traditionally, we've seen that those guns are not being used at the school on another student.
A 12-year-old boy was shot near Dunbar High School's football stadium during a recent Friday night football game, sending spectators scrambling for cover as players ran off the field in fear.
It's not normal, but sadly, it's the reality of the challenges of inner city.
At that same school Monday, a cafeteria window was hit by gunfire after school, and 2 juveniles were taken into custody. As the calls for change grow louder from parents, police, and prosecutors, legislators have yet to take action to address the juvenile crime crisis. And Boatwright says they can't afford to wait much longer.
I think that they need consequences, and if we can address those and give consequences for these poor decisions, then maybe those young people who are on the fence about whether or not they should make bad decisions will see that they will be held accountable.
And schools can be the safe haven they're meant to be.
We are ready to, be called to action in a minute's notice. So, but we pray and hope that, we have a successful school year.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Baltimore County is also seeing issues when it comes to juvenile violence in and around schools. Just last week, police placed 2 14-year-olds in the custody of the Department of Juvenile Services. This followed a shooting near several Baltimore County public schools that prompted a lockdown. Baltimore County Police have confirmed the gun allegedly involved in this shooting was a Polymer 80 ghost gun. While the victim is not actively enrolled in Baltimore County Public Schools, 2 of the other young people involved in this incident are current students. A dozen top prosecutors across Maryland are now calling for changes for the current juvenile justice system. They combined represent about 5 million people. That's nearly 82% of the state's population.
If we don't do something to hold these young people accountable, they will continue to run and almost have lawlessness in our cities. And we can't have that.
Some of our laws that have been passed recently do make it a little more challenging for us to hold them accountable. And that's sort of playing a role in some of the issues we're seeing at the moment.
To our young people, you are not outsmarting the police. You are not outmaneuvering prosecutors. You will not scare your peers into silence.
And we're not just hearing from prosecutors, we're also hearing from police as well. A local sheriff is calling on the governor to do something about it before things get worse. Our Vincent Hill sat down with the Carroll County Sheriff, who says January is too long to wait for the laws to change.
And they take care of my deputies because
Carroll County Sheriff Jim DeWeese almost at a loss for words when asked this question.
So how do your deputies effectively do their job to protect and serve when it's the juvenile offenders who have the protection from the laws?
That's a good question.
A question he's pondered since the state's juvenile laws went into effect.
There's a lot of confusion when a juvenile commits a crime and we simply can't charge them, and we have to release them back to a parent. We have to tell a victim, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pursue this another way, whether it's civilly or you're going to have to try and file something because our hands are tied.
Sheriff DeWeese says he tried to warn lawmakers of what was to come.
People that were on the front lines, like me, the sheriffs, the chiefs, the state's attorneys, we told them this is exactly what was going to happen.
Now he's hoping lawmakers in Annapolis, more importantly, Governor Wes Moore, will listen.
The governor, who is a smart man, that understands that this is a problem, needs to come up with solutions, but work with law enforcement to do this.
But the governor, although calling for accountability.
Some of the laws they're talking about adjusting are laws that were passed before I became the governor.
Doesn't seem to be offering any specific plans to tackle juvenile crime.
The adjustments to the laws that were passed by the legislature need to be adjusted by the legislature, but they know we are working very closely with them to make sure that the adjustments that need to be made are going to be made.
It is not performed or successfully completed.
While lawmakers can't seem to agree on what needs to be done and when.
Sheriff, do you think the legislation should meet sooner rather than later to tackle this juvenile crime?
Absolutely.
Sheriff DeWeese says he knows what lies ahead.
If you don't work on this immediately and you say we're going to look at it in January and we're going to ask the governor to sign it in April, May, or June, and it's effective in July or maybe October, the wake of victims is going to be tremendous.
Still ahead, a closer look at Ophelia's impact right here in Baltimore City
And Ophelia, now just a post-tropical system, still bringing some rain to the area and ushering in some cooler temperatures. We'll talk about a very fall-like outlook on the other side of this break on Fox 45 Morning News.
All right, the good news is now that Ophelia has weakened to a tropical depression. It made landfall as a tropical storm yesterday morning near Emerald Isle, North Carolina. Here in Baltimore, we saw mostly on and off showers, some windy conditions, but take a look here at the bottom of your screen. North Carolina, Virginia, also Delaware, they got the worst of it. And you're looking here at Ocean City on the top right-hand corner. And Towson, as well as Charm City, looking all right this morning. But there were heavy winds that knocked down trees, flooded areas, and that downpour has certainly impacted thousands of people. Now, the bands from Ophelia smashing through Ocean City brought high winds, rain overnight, leaving long-term impacts from the storm.
Probably anticipating we're going to experience some beach erosion, but the dunes and the beach are in great shape. You know, they're there to protect the properties, and they're going to do that. It'll be all hands on deck. Ocean City will be out cleaning the sand off the boardwalk and doing all they can to assist, you know, along the beach and with whatever equipment we have.
The cleanup will help ahead of next weekend's Big Oceans Calling musical festival that's scheduled on the beach. The effects of Ophelia were also seen across the greater Baltimore region. Ophelia caused some rain and gusty wind. In downtown Annapolis, the water rising there. Parking lots were flooded right near the Annapolis Maritime Museum. The wind rocked boats docked at the harbor. Businesses, residents, they had already prepped for the storm, filling sandbags provided by the city to stop any potential floodwaters. The rain definitely didn't stop visitors, though, from going outside and taking a walk around the city.
Calming, it's fantastic. Great time to go on a walk, great time to read a book.
I think these roads are not the best to drive on in the rain.
I second that. The wind also caused some hazardous.
For about a year and a half now, they have been putting out a cooler filled with drinks and snacks for them. They say they fill them up weekly.
They're working and it's hot, and my son is a delivery driver and my son-in-law, and they said it makes a big difference for their whole mentality when people do that kind of stuff.
Dana picked up the act of kindness idea to show a small token of appreciation for those who drop things off.
I believe one of her friends did it, so she thought it was a good idea to, especially in Fresno heat, to put out the coolers, you know, some kind of gratitude for them, you know, because it is a hard job.
When regulars come by, they know a sweet treat and a refreshing drink awaits. For first-timers, they say it's quite a nice surprise.
They don't know what to think. They're like, wow, okay. I love watching their reactions on the video. And one guy said, like, oh, thank God. It was like 110 that day. He was like, thank God. And he was just ice cold water. And he's like, oh my God. It's fun watching them do it.
You'll now find a Post-it note outside the house letting the drivers know why there is no cooler for now.
We just put a little sign up that says, sorry, no treats right now. Somebody stole the cooler.
I just heard her mention 110-degree weather. That is so out of here. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart here to tell us what is here for today.
Yeah.
And, what is?
Yeah, cool, cloudy. If you're a fall weather fan, I saw a lot of people posting online. They say, hey, I like this cool change. And
same.
Ophelia helped usher it in, I will say that. Not a huge impact storm, but certainly some impact, especially right along the bay there. Had some dock flooding, things like that, some heavy rain. 66 now. Wind is calm after seeing gusts up to 50 over the last 24 hours, even in Parole and down into southern Maryland as well as Ocean City. Here's what's left the core of Ophelia, bringing the heavier rains now into Pennsylvania, beginning to pull out of Maryland. That'll set the stage for a slightly better Sunday, certainly than our Saturday. And of course, we won't have the wind today. But overall, this is going to be a slow process clearing out those northern Maryland areas from the last of these rains. And I still think hit or miss showers possible today. We do have the potential still for some inundation right along the waterfront. A lot of additional water in the bay. Of course, this storm ended up being nothing like you think of the legendary 20 years ago, Isabel. Can you believe that? September 03, 20 years ago. What a storm that was for the Chesapeake region, even with some immediate coastal flooding concerns that we've had over the last 24 hours that continue this afternoon. This was nothing on the order of that type of storm. So thank goodness for that. Winds continue to diminish after seeing some max gusts again, even since midnight, around 30 miles per hour in spots, including BWI. Our overall setup is going to be for less wind today. More of that wind is going to be along the coastal areas, especially up toward New Jersey. Lingering showers and less windy, but the Ophelia remnants slowly clearing out. Nonetheless, this will still not be a rapid like sunshine back and warm temperature scenario. It's going to stay cool and cloudy, not just Monday, but to start the week. There's Ophelia pulling away, but the associated mid-level moisture, the cloud cover, hanging tough, and also enough instability to keep a few showers around for the Ravens game this afternoon. I think much cooler air up and down the East Coast. I think that's going to continue to be the case here for us early into the week. So drier air behind Ophelia, but overall still cool and cloudy. The clouds hanging tough along the coast with a persistent east and northeast wind. By the way, one more system down here in the tropics, Felipe, but this one we expect to stay out to sea. Football forecast today as we bring in that team from Indianapolis. Upper 60s the story. Still a hit or miss shower. Bring an extra warm layer and also a slicker just in case to the game. By the way, look at the change over the next 7 days. Cool and cloudy and murky early on. Sunshine fights back late in the week, allows us to get back into the low and mid 70s. Something for everyone there.
It's the breakout hit that had us on the edge of our seat, and now it's back for season 2. A new group of all-star celebrity recruits is being put to the test in Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. We're joined now by season 2 contestant, the world-famous Jack Osbourne. Welcome, Jack. How are you, sir?
Hello. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Man, you know, it's so crazy, Jack. We saw you grow up on television, and now look at you. You're like look at you, man. You got this thing going on. It's the season takes us to the mountains of New Zealand. You're dealing with freezing temperatures. How hard was it to be out there in the elements?
You know, the cold is one thing, but when you're wet and cold, it just really ramps up the misery. And the DS, they kept us wet and cold pretty much every day. It was brutal.
Well, you know, so we're talking about the physical, but Jack, take us through the mental aspect of this. How tough is it to survive, or is it all about the mental?
It is all about the mental. You know, I think it's probably 20% of this is a mental game, a physical game, and then the rest is all mental because it never turns off. Everything is designed to kind of push your limit, even to how you go to the bathroom. You know, these wooden outhouses, and you have to go in front of, you know, everyone. Like, people are washing dishes, and there's like, you know, whatever fill in the blank celebrity just taking a poop right there. So you just get stuck in.
Speaking of that, man, did you have a tendency when you find out who they are, like thinking about like sizing them up and thinking like, oh, I can take him out or take her out? You know, is that what happens? That's a natural process. Is that what happens?
Not really. Everyone just came together really quickly. There was no one who was particularly kind of feisty or tried to, you know, muscle their way to, you know, be leader. It just, everything felt really organic with this group. And like, I really enjoyed the people I was in there with. I mean, we still speak to this day. Like, as we've been sat here, like this morning, I've been getting texts from, you know, the group chain.
So it's, you know, really is an ultimate social experiment. What did you take away from this experience, man? Because it's not something that's, you know, the average experience. What did you take away from it?
Sure. I went into this wanting to know, like, okay, where's my limit? How much can I take? You know, I did, you know, my goal was to finish this thing. And I learned a lot about my kind of mental fortitude. And that's something that it's hard to describe because, it would take longer than like a 5-minute interview to really get into it. But it was, I came away feeling growth ultimately.
I love it, man. Look, we've grown up, we've watched you grow up, and we know your family. Thank you for all the great years you've given us, and it's been a joy following you, and it was fun following you on this series. Okay, thanks again, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Definitely. Take care.
The chance for a good old rainy Sunday, it's not over yet. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart is tracking what's left of Ophelia and how long it could last. Stick with us here at Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. What a difference just an hour and a half makes, Wyatt.
You can see the stadium again. How's that?
I like that I can see the stadium.
Yes, that was unbelievable this morning. Just so murky and rainy, and the rain is steadily moving north. It will continue to clear out. I still think a chance for a passing shower at M&T Bank Stadium today. You're going there, bring a slicker and bring a warm layers, and never out of the 60s.
Maybe they'll bring a win.
That would be nice, especially against that Indy team. Long history with them. And I will say this, we did begin to get the warmth back and the sun back toward the latter part of the week.
Okay.
So just glad that Ophelia was not a major blow.
We got a grab bag for everyone. We got a little bit of rain, a little murky, a little bit of sunshine, whatever you want. You got it here at Fox 45 Morning News. Thanks for joining us. Football is next. Stick around.
See you.